You hear that? That's the sound of one of the square's more rarer inhabitants, the mighty giants. Simply put, giants are a subspecies of Polytopian, far larger and stronger than their more numerous kin. Much like normal Polytopians, they've got floating hands, feet, and heads, 2 giant eyes, and they lay very large eggs. They stand approximately 30 centimeters tall, which is much taller than the 10 centimeter Polytopians. Unlike the smaller version, these Polytopians have a very different body shape. Less like this, and more like this. A more pronounced brow, and a tremendous appetite. The grand height and strength of the average giant mean that they can deal and take a lot more damage than usual. A large boulder flung from a catapult might wipe out a platoon of soldiers, but a giant can take a few direct hits and survive. They can swat away groups of enemy soldiers without breaking a sweat. They can easily wield tree trunks as clubs. We'll talk more about their combat prowess in a moment. Culturally, the giants don't normally feel the need to join a tribe, as they're far too focused on trying to find their next meal. The rather solitary life of a giant entails roaming around the landscape, looking for trees full of fruit or plump animals to munch on, so you don't see very many large groupings of giants. And since these gentle beings are too preoccupied with finding food, the Polytopian tribes tend to ignore them. No point in getting them angry, right? Where do giants come from? Why are they so huge? How did they evolve into what they are now? Sadly, these questions don't really have answers just yet, as Polytopian scholars are even baffled at how the giants gained their immense size and strength. The giants were more occupied with constant foraging than recording their history, either in literature or stories. So Polytopian scholars don't have much to work with. Speculation fills the gaps. The Chinchi believe that a group of Polytopians displeased the Chinikai spirit, who cursed them into this form. The Aquarian believe that the first giant was a Polytopian named Agris, who drank from the mystical well of Nahlis. And the other tribes all have their own myths. Of course, a more common belief is that some ancient technology created the first giants, but no one can know for certain. Throughout much of Polytopian history, giants were the stuff of legend. Polytopians the size of houses who could uproot trees effortlessly? Absurd. As one would expect, as contact with the giants grew, so did the fear of the average Polytopian. And giants were considered ruthless, dangerous monsters meant to be avoided at all costs. But this began to change when tensions between the Yadak and the Luxador were creating increasing friction over land and trade. A fight was on the horizon. So the Luxadorian Emperor Geniki did the unthinkable. They reached out to the savage giants for help. The plan was simple. If the giants have a massive appetite, then what better way to get them to work for you than to use your wealth to provide them with as much food as they could ever possibly want? You get food, we get your mighty strength to aid us. Win-win. And win they did. A skirmish around the base of Moreton Peak resulted in a resounding victory for the Luxador, causing the Yadak to rout in a hurry. The giants hired were impossible for the Yadak to counter, and many were horrified to see such great beasts destroying their comrades with ease. This event gained Emperor Geniki the title of the Friendly, as it was they who were willing to put aside silly superstition and befriend these new allies. From that point on, the perspective on giants shifted away from scary monsters to tactical tools, and they've been a mainstay of Polytopian warfare since. Nowadays, it's not uncommon to see giants on the battlefield, as they found their niche as experts in sieging cities and tanking blows that would flatten the average Polytopian. So, how do modern-day Polytopians recruit giants into the war? Well, the principle hasn't changed that much since Emperor Geniki's idea. Give them tons of food and arm them, and they'll show up on their own. When Polytopian populations get big enough in a city, it's not unheard of citizens to spend their extra time and resources beautifying the city, usually with the addition of a park, art, or other decorations. Beautiful cities make happier citizens, and happier citizens are more productive. But many other cities take a different approach. What if we used all those resources and built a large stockpile to lure a giant out of the wilderness? You know the rest. Now, what if your enemies are waterborne? Giants are tall, but not tall enough to wade through an ocean. They also won't normally fit in the average Polytopian watercraft, as they're far too large and heavy, and the ship would easily capsize. So, Polytopians came up with an idea. What if we gave the giant their own unique ship? Enter the Juggernaut. These spiky, shielded vessels are designed to use the giant's strength and weight to their advantage. The specialized boat is pedal-powered by the giant, who will attempt to maneuver it near enemy ships and then create tremendous shock waves that can rock unprepared boats, pushing their crews into the water or even cause them to sink. As you'd expect, it's really difficult to turn this large platform gracefully. So while the Juggernaut might be an offensive powerhouse, it leaves the giant completely unable to retaliate to attacks. Thankfully, the shields are there to at least protect the giant a little bit. The advent of the Juggernaut changed the square's history of naval warfare forever. And no navy is complete without a few of these mighty ships. We're glad you could take some time to learn about these often misunderstood Polytopians. Remember, if you hear booming in the distance, you might be able to make a new friend. As always, may your bellies be full, your friends huge, and your enemies squished.